Hello everyone, welcome to Meeple Bits. You and some others have managed to get together and create a colony. A colony where you're attempting to survive the long winter ahead in a post-apocalyptic world. Zombies have taken over everything, and you're out to just survive each day at a time. But the people in your colony, can they be trusted? Are they out for their own agenda, or are they truly working for the greater good of everyone? Today we're going to go through and set up and play through Dead of Winter, a game designed by Jonathan Gilmour and Isaac Vega, published by Plaid Hat Games for 2 to 5 players with a playtime of 60 to 120 minutes. So join me as we set up and play through Dead of Winter. Okay guys, welcome to the initial setup of Dead by Daylight. So you'll see that I've set it up for a 3-player game like I typically do. So there's a lot of components happening in and around the board, so I've tried to scrunch in as much as I can, but there's also a lot of stuff kind of off camera that are still in the box, like other survivors and all of the zombie tokens. In addition, there's nope, I did bring them in. Okay, and then there's all of this stuff, which is your noise tokens, barricades, frostbite bleeds, food, additional zombies, and other survivors. So that's just the additional components that you don't see here. So let's jump right into an initial setup. You're going to want to place your colony board and the locations around the colony board as best as your table's going to fit. So I just scrunch everything in. So we've got our colony board here, and then we've got our 6 locations around the top of the board. The police station, the grocery store, the school, the library, the hospital, and the gas station. Each location has then a deck of cards. In each deck of cards, you're going to want to grab them, and they're numbered. So this one says police station, the next one says grocery store. So just put the right deck on the right location in their respective places. Probably not as visible, but at the top of each location also are some icons, which indicate from most to least amount of items or cards that are available in each of those locations when you go to search, which I'll address in a moment. So for example, at the gas station, which looks relatively in view, there's more gas cards, second is gun cards or weapons, third is food, fourth is medicine, and last is survivors. Whereas in the hospital, the most amount of items there is going to be medicine, followed by gas and food. So just to kind of give you an idea while you're planning what location to go to. So number 3, you're going to want to set up and choose your main objective. So I've gone ahead and selected this main objective here. If it's your first time playing, the game suggests that you do we need more supply, or we need more samples. So I've chosen that one as the initial setup, and it'll tell you exactly how then to set up the rest of the game. So in this one, we need more samples. You're going to put your morale track at 6, your round track at 6, and then add 1 zombie to all non-colony locations. And then it also tells you the condition of victory. Every time a zombie is killed, roll a die. If the die result is 4 or higher, add a zombie token to this objective. Accumulate 3 zombies on this main objective for each player that started the game. So in a 3-player game, we're going to need to kill 9 total zombies. So that's our main objective. So I've taken the round marker, placed it on the side of the board, and set it on a 6, and I've taken the morale marker and also placed it on a 6. Next, you're going to want to go through the deck of secret objectives. So there are 2 types of secret objectives. One, there's the secret objective cards that say betrayal on them. And then there's the other secret objective cards that don't say anything, like this. So you're going to want to go through and shuffle in 2 non-betrayal cards per player. So in a 3-player game, 6 non-betrayal, and then you're going to shuffle in 1 betrayal card. So there's going to be a 1 in 7 chance that someone ends up as sort of a defector, or someone that's going to betray the colony or isn't really working with you to complete their secret objective. So let's go ahead and see what we got dealt. Okay, so we are not a betrayer. So next you're going to place your crisis cards here, as indicated on the board for the crisis cards, and these are going to come up every round. And then you're going to need to resolve them, or bad shit's going to potentially happen. Next, you're going to want to deal 5 starter item cards. So while each location around in each location you've got decks, there's also a deck of starter cards that say starter item on them. Each player is going to get 5 total. Next, you're going to deal out 4 survivor cards to every player, and then they're going to select 2 survivors to keep. So I went ahead and set up 2 survivors on each player around the board. I assure you they have them. So this person actually got Sparky the dog. So you're going to grab those, select which 2 you want to keep, and then add the other 2 back into the deck. Once you've selected who you're going to keep, go through the tokens, find their corresponding standees, and put them all in a colony. The highest influence becomes the first player, and then you're also going to receive 1 die plus 1 for every follower that you have. So in a starting game, everyone's going to start with 3 action dice. As you gain more followers, you're going to gain more dice in subsequent rounds. So let's talk about the follower cards just for a moment so that you can see exactly what's on there. Your followers. There we go. We can do this. In the upper right-hand corner, circled in red, is the influence of this particular follower. The next is your attack value that you need. White paper's not really working. So that's your attack value you're going to need, followed then by your search value. And then anything special is located at the bottom. So this guy, anywhere, once per round, I can kill 2 zombies at my current location, and I only roll for exposure 1 time. And I'll talk about what exposure and all that is in just a second. But that's your initial setup and layout. So once you've got the board, the locations, and everything, everyone's got their secret objective, everyone's got their followers, and everyone's got their dice, go ahead and grab the crossroad deck and place it on the table like so. And then initial setup is complete. Now you're ready to start playing the game and making your way towards victory, as indicated on the card there, where we need to kill a bunch of zombies and I guess essentially cut off their heads and add them to a pile. So everyone that's going to, quote, win the game is going to be those that complete the game when all the rounds are done or the victory condition has been met and you've completed your personal secret objective. So our personal secret objective is the main objective has been completed and all of your survivors have an item equipped. So during the game, as we search the different areas around the colony, we're going to want to try to equip each of our followers with new items. So right now I just have 2 followers that I need to get equipped, but if I pick up anyone along the way, I'll need to go out and find items for them so that I can complete my secret objective. The last remaining item here is your exposure die, which I'll talk about as I go through the playthrough. How the game is played, as indicated on each of your player boards. So the player turn phase, we're going to reveal a crisis, we're going to roll our action die, and then the player's going to take their turns. During a player's turn, they're going to spend their action dice, as indicated over here on the right side, and spending a dice will allow you to attack, search, place a barricade, clean 3 waste cards, or attract zombies to your location. Items or actions that don't require a die to use are play a card, add a card to the crisis, move a survivor, spend food tokens, request items, hand off items, or call to vote an exile. And that's it. So that's going to be the round, and then after that's complete, you're going to step into the colony phase. You're going to pay food to all the mouths that you have to feed, check for waste cap, resolve the crisis, add more zombies as indicated, and then check the main objective to see if it's over, move the round token, and then pass the first player token. This little knife here, first player token. Okay, so that's setup, how to win, and how to go through a turn. So let's take a few moments to just dive in and go through, I guess, probably in this demonstration, 1 round so that you can kind of see how everything works. So let's go ahead and roll these dice, whatever the other guys have. So on our first one, let's first reveal our crisis. The initial crisis, horror in the night, number of non-exiled players. So we need to add food into this crisis contribution, and if we fail, then we'll lose 2 morale. And so the game ends if your morale reaches 0 or the round reaches 0 before the main objective is complete. So losing 2 morale would put us down to 4, so we need to contribute food into this pile. So how that works, face up. So how that works is number of non-exiled players. So right now, everyone is not exiled when you start the game. So there's 3 players total, so we need to contribute 3 food into the crisis so that we don't lose 2 morale. Next, roll your action dice. Okay, 5, 5, 3. And then the player's going to take their turns. So here on my initial turn, I know I got to go out and search and find some items. So looking around the board, the gas station and the police station have the most areas of opportunity for items. And I guess let's address what those items look like for a moment. So such items like food, which can be contributed to the food supply to feed your colony. And to feed the colony, you're going to need to have 1 food per 2 people in the colony. So right now there's 6 people in the colony, so we're going to need a total of 3 food to make sure that everyone in the colony gets fed. If people leave the colony, less mouths to feed, less food is required. It's assumed that while you're out scavenging, you're also feeding yourself. Another type of item is a junk item. Using a junk item allows you to re-roll an action die. Different requirements, you'll notice it has a tool icon on it, which allows you to contribute it to anything requiring a tool. A fuel, also indicated with a fuel icon. You play this card so that you can move a survivor and not roll for exposure during that movement. So how that works is, I'm going to go ahead and leave the colony. And looking at what I have, my second follower, she has an attack of 5 and a search of 4. And I was rolled a 5, 5, 3. Let's see, Daniel, he's got an attack of 2 and a search of 5. So she is pretty good because she can go to the library, and once per round, when performing a search at the library, I can look and keep 1 additional card. That's kind of her special ability down here. So you know what? I need to get some items, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and move our standee. Now remember, moving doesn't take a die to do. I'm going to move her to the library. Each location can only hold so many survivors and so many zombies. In the library, it's 3 and 3. In the police station in the upper left, it's 3 survivors and 4 zombies. And then if the location gets overrun with zombies, then people start to die. Okay, so now that I'm there, I'm going to take my first action and spend this first die, this 5, to search at the library. So I'm going to search. Oh, sorry. So I moved to the library, which means anytime you move to a location, anytime you move or attack, you have to roll for exposure. So let's roll for exposure. Oh, I got a bite. So I guess I should probably address this. So these are bites. This is frostbite. And this is dead, basically. So this is infected. So I was, I guess, I hurt myself on the way out there, so I'm going to need to take a blood token and put it on my player. Once a player reaches 3 tokens, they die. In the case of frostbite, this counts as 1, and then frostbite will give me 1 more blood token next turn automatically, like so, if I don't cure the frostbite. There's health items also found out there, or medicine as well. So I'll take my 1 wound. I got scratched up a little bit on the way out there, and then spend my die to do my search. And I found 1 food. Okay, so I've got a couple of food that I can start to contribute. And then at the library, I can look at and keep 1 additional card. And it's said that way because I can look at this card, which is fuel, And maybe I need it, maybe I need it to save it for someone else, but I'll go ahead and keep it for myself. Okay, so that's my first action. I still need items though, but I don't necessarily want to risk leaving the location. But you know what? That zombie, he's kind of in my way, and we need to kill some zombies anyway. So I'm going to use this 5 die, because her attack is a 5, to go ahead and kill the zombie at the library. Just like that, he's dead. No big deal. But I do have to roll for exposure when attacking zombies, unless the cards indicate that I don't need to, or if I have an item that says otherwise. Oh, another wound. Okay. So that's 2 wounds for Alexis Gray. But she survived, and I've got a number 3 left, which I can't really do a whole lot with. I guess I could spend an item and try to re-roll it to get something larger, and then maybe search again. But you know what? We'll go ahead and just waste it on a barricade. So we'll spend it and throw up a barricade here in the colony. And then you know what? We need to get food going, so I'm going to contribute 2 food. Well, let's go ahead and contribute 3 food. I'm going to contribute, let's see here. Nope, not the junk. 1 food to the colony. So I'm going to grab a food token and put it into the food supply. That goes face up. But now, because we don't know if a person is a betrayer or not, these that I'm going to contribute to the crisis are go face down. Not indicating. I can say that I'm contributing 2, but it's never known that that's absolutely what I've done. And at the end of the round, you're going to pick them up face down, shuffle through them so you don't know the order at which they were contributed, and then flip them over and resolve the crisis. So anyway, that'll be player 1's turn. All right, player 2. Player 2 rolled a 6-6-2, and they've got a 2 on attack, a 4 on search, and then a 2 and a 2 from the dog, which isn't too bad. And Sparky's a pretty interesting character. When rolling for exposure, if you roll a bite, treat it as if it were a wound. That way, if I do roll the fang instead of just the wound, no one else will be affected, and it just counts as a bite. So the dog's kind of immune to being completely affected. And the other thing that I forgot to do, sorry guys, the crossroad card. The crossroad card, whoever's turn it is, the player to the right of them will draw this crossroad card and then resolve it whenever it says. So, looking at this, if the player controls Arthur and is not exiled, I do not control Arthur. So this condition never actually happened during the turn. So this crossroad will never trigger. We'll just set it off or put it into the discard. Now that it's this player's turn, I'm drawing up, so this player would draw up the crossroad. If the player moves a non-exiled survivor. Okay, so I'm just reading that to myself for now. So this person, they're going to go and they're going to say, yeah, you know what, what's my secret objective? Okay, my secret objective is not a betrayer. You win the game if you have at least 2 knowledge cards or 2 book cards in your hand. So this person, seeing that they need some books, they're definitely going to go to the library as well. So they're going to send out Sparky because Sparky has a low attack and a low search, and they're going to also go to the library. Things are getting a little bit crowded over there. But the dog must still roll for exposure and take a wound. Okay. Now this triggers, though. If a player moves a non-exiled survivor, then you would go through and kind of read the setup or the storyline of this. You walk past the cathedral and you realize that no one's been inside since the colony formed. It's certainly not the most tempting of targets, but you can think of something that might be of use. Option 1. You mount the steps and the heavy door and the front door groans as you pull it open. You spend 15 minutes searching before you find a small room holding the prize you wanted, 6 bottles of communion wine. But as you move through the dark hallways towards the exit, a foul-smelling shape slams into you. The priest's corpse gnashes his teeth, nearly taking off your nose. Look like you were judged and found wanting. You slam the thing's head into the tiled floor repeatedly until only gory wreckage remains. You dust yourself off and wonder, did I just say a cheesy one-liner in a fight? That's badass. roll for exposure or roll exposure on the move survivor twice. If the survivor isn't killed by the exposure, gain 1 morale. Option 2, not worth the risk, and you keep moving. So really, before I would have rolled that initial one, this should have triggered. So option 1, I know that I've already taken a wound, but we'll kind of backtrack a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to risk it because it's the dog, and the dog can not spread infection, so that's very useful. So you know what? I'm going to take it. So there was my exposure roll 1. Exposure roll 2 was a blank, which kind of fell behind the person. So nothing doing. Great news for everybody involved because we now get to move our morale up to 7. Now we can kind of fight through a little bit more, and heck, we can probably even survive the crisis. Okay, now it's time to spend the actions. So looking around, I'm just going to do, with this one, I'm going to do 3 searches. So I'm going to spend all 3 action dice to go ahead and search at the library. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that would have been like this. Okay, so first one, some food, put it in the pile. Second one is 2 outsiders. Add the top card of the survivor deck to your following and place their matching standee in the colony. Add 1 helpless survivor to the colony. So these are your helpless survivor tokens. We have to throw one of those in the colony, which is just a kind of permanent mouth to feed. And then, gas station blueprints. Equip once per round when performing a search at the gas station with the survivor. You may look at and keep 1 additional card. And my objective is, of course, these book blueprints. So I'm going to go ahead and equip it onto the dog. Yes, the dog can take equipment. But I also got to pull the top card of the survivor deck. So where are my survivors? Here we go. And I've drawn Harmon Brooks. Anywhere if Harmon would receive frostbite wound, he receives a wound instead. He's got an attack of 3 and a search of 3 with an influence of 32. So he's going to go into their following and got to dig through and find his standee. There we go. And put it into the colony. So that's going to be the end of their turn. But as we look around, now it's player 3's turn. Go ahead and resolve this crossroad. There we go. There are 2, 4, 6 people in the colony and only 1 food in the supply. So before they end their turn, you know what? They're going to go ahead and contribute also a little bit of food into the general supply. 1, 2 food. 2 food. Here, they didn't contribute anything into the crisis though. But let's take our 2 food tokens and add them here. So right now, we can fully feed every mouth that's in the colony, so we're safe in that regard. But the crisis is still up for grabs. All right, player 3's turn, so player 2 draws this crisis. If a survivor the player controls is at the colony, which they do control because we just started the game, so they're in the colony now. Remember how fast that fire drew all those zombies last week? Storyline, storyline, storyline. There you go. Pause it and read it if you like. Only option, you may move 1 action die from your unused action die pool to your used action die pool to remove 1 zombie from every location. So basically, they have the option, it says you may, so you don't have to, you may spend any of those dice, and they have, on their side, a 5-1-1. That's what they'd rolled. So those are 3 unused action dice. If you do not, nothing happens. So that's actually a pretty luck of the draw because a lot of these are kind of brutal at times. And since this player rolled 2 1s, that's a great deal to take these unused action dice and turn them into used dice to go ahead and remove some zombies. Let's go ahead and just take these guys off at any location. So that one really worked out for us. Now they're going to take their turn basically with their remaining die. And they've got a person that has a attack of 4, search of 1. Sophie can look at the top location anywhere of the item deck. And if you have looked at the card, place it back on the top of the item deck. So that's not too bad. And then she got the doctor. So I can go anywhere, and once per round I can remove a type of wound from a survivor that shares a location. Well, I've got some injured survivors out there, and is this a betrayer? It is not. Okay. Main objective, have 3 fuel cards in their hand. So you know what, before we start, they're going to go ahead and make a food contribution. Uh-oh. They have no food to contribute to the crisis. That's no good. So just as an example, they're going to call out and say, hey, does anyone have any food to give? And then this player, they're going to go ahead and say, yeah, you know what, I've got 1 food that I can hand over to you. So they would then hand over, because they share a location in the colony, and they're going to contribute that food into the crisis. Again, it's somewhat known, but still face down as an unknown. And then let's assume that they went ahead and spent that number 5 on something. Okay, so that's the initial phase of reveal crisis, roll action dice, and then player turns. Now we got to do the colony phase. So we're going to pay the food. Step 1, pay the food for everyone that's in the colony. So again, we have 2, 4, 6 mouths to feed in the colony. So that's 3 food that have to go. So already we're out of food. We're going to have to start contributing back into that food supply next round. Check waste. Okay, anything above 10 waste and we're going to lose a morale. We've only got 3 waste in there now, so we're still in the clear. Add zombies. So now we're going to go around the board and start to add zombies for every player that's there, except in the colony, where we're going to add 1 zombie per 2. So let's go ahead and grab some zombie standees here. Let's start the colony. There's 3 people, so we need to add 6 people, so we need to add 3 zombies. 1, 2, 3. And you go around the board exactly how they indicated 1 through 6. Looking around, there's only 2 people outside the colony, so it looks like the library is going to get 2 zombies. All right, that one's about to get overrun, so next turn we're going to have to think about either leaving the library or taking care of those zombies. All right, check the main objective. One thing that I forgot to do during that turn is I killed off 3 zombies but never rolled a die to determine their fates. So there's 1 token we would add, 2 tokens, and 3 tokens. Because again, remember, anything above a 4 gets a zombie token against the main objective. Good stuff. And we need 9 total, so that's a third of the way there. Check the main objective. Not yet complete. Move the round tracker. Now we have 5 turns to go ahead and complete the objective. And then pass the first player token to the next person. Okay, and all of that is as indicated here on your player board. Okay, so that's a setup and a quick playthrough of a pretty complex game, Dead of Winter. Stay tuned for my thoughts. Welcome back. I totally missed where we needed to resolve the crisis, which was number 3 on the board. So part of that action is going to be here, pulling these up, shuffling them, and then flipping them over. Sorry, that's an easy one for me to miss, but 3 food were contributed during that, and then they go here into the waste. So actually we had 6 waste instead of just the 3. But this crisis was completed, so it would go under. And then we would reveal the next one next turn. So quick little edit and correction. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that quick setup and playthrough of Dead of Winter. And by quick, I mean not so much, because it's a pretty involved game. Full disclosure, this is absolutely one of my favorite co-op with defector style genre games. It's got a theme that I really enjoy, and then the elements overall are a lot of fun to play through. So some of the things that I really like about the game and the mechanics are the crossroad cards really add in that additional layer of unpredictability into what might otherwise be a pretty straightforward and stale experience. So the integration of those crossroads really adds some additional stressors to make things not so easy. I like that when you're going through the game, you never know if someone is truly working on their own until, in most games, towards the end, because no one's going to want to tip their hand and get voted out of the colony. So a couple of things that I didn't address in the playthrough was exiled and getting bitten and how an infection spreads. So if a player gets completely bitten, then an infection needs to spread. They have two options. Option one, they can either kill themselves, fall on their own sword, the infection stops, no more spreading. Or they can try to roll the infection die, and if they get anything except a blank, then they die anyway, and the infection spreads. And for every death in the colony, you lose 1 morale. So if you roll the die and you got luck on your side, then boom, the infection stops spreading. Now it's only going to spread to someone else in the same location. So example, if you had 2 people at the police station and someone got bitten on their route there, then they can either die and stop it, or if they roll it and they get like a wound or a frostbite, then the bite spreads and the next person would have to roll a die or fall on their sword. So that's a real neat mechanic. And then number 2 was voting out players that you think might be betrayers. So on any given turn, if you think someone is working against you or for themselves, then you can call a vote. And with a simple thumbs up or thumbs down, majority rules, that person either stays or leaves the colony. If they're voted out, they're then given a completely new secret objective, and they have to reveal if they were the betrayer or not. If they were, they get a different betrayer type card, and then there's a whole list of rules. And then there's also a 2-player variant, which, as you'll notice, I don't go through those too often. But anyway, as I mentioned, this is definitely one of my favorite co-op with effector style games. A few things that I don't like about it is the quality of the locations. They're really flimsy. I'm not even sure the material, but it's basically like cardstock. So they bend, they can't really stand up. They should have done like a very thick cardboard stock, and that would have been much better for those locations. So that's one thing that I really just don't like about it. Another thing is I prefer linen finish on cards, and inside of this particular one is a custom box insert that I got from Broken Token. That's the other problem that I had initially when I got the game, is that you have like 100 different baggies to hold the different components, and that gets really frustrating over time, because then your setup and teardown is almost as long as the game itself. So what I did is I went ahead, Broken Token's got an awesome custom insert, put it in there, and now my setup and teardown went from, I don't know, like 15 minutes to probably 3 minutes. So if it's a game you really enjoy and you're like me and you want to add some additional premium components into your games, then that, custom inserts are definitely the way to go, and I highly recommend it. Not an endorsement necessarily for any one company. I just know where I got mine one for this game. So I know this game was launched in 2014, but even still today, I definitely try to get it to the table as often as I can because it's so much fun. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. I'm happy to assist further. Really thankful for all your support for what I'm trying to do here. So until next time, everybody, thanks for watching.